Hello, I'm Sherry Sturman, Director of Crayola Education. We're excited to share this series, Create a Spa for Teachers, with everyone who educates children, whether at school or at home. I am thrilled to introduce today's guest, Andrew Kiczek, who has been teaching in the same school, in the same room for 14 years. And wow, when you look at his room, you can feel the creative energy. Andrew, we're delighted to have you join us. Let's start by explaining why the look and feel of the physical space is so important for learning.
I believe that the classroom look and feel is important because it kind of gives your students like a preview of what they're going to be expected that they're going to learn. When my students walk in here, they look around, they're looking at the walls and they're like instantly inspired and they're eager to create something. So I color code all my stuff by the colors of the rainbow. And it makes my students calm because they can easily find the supplies and they know where to put it away, pick it up. And that gives me more time to focus on the important stuff. I can build relationships with my students and most importantly, spend more time making art because that's the important stuff. So being organized, I have more time with my students to do that type of stuff.
Now, part of your organizational magic is how you put everything in containers that, particularly those that will help students carry supplies to their table. You're always searching for containers you can repurpose for storage. Please tell our viewers that really great. I find it so funny, the story about Crystal Light and how once you saw the container, you weren't even sure you liked the drink of it. You just had to buy them so they could fit in your classroom.
My original story about my Crystal Light containers all started when I first started to throw things away that I no longer needed anymore, until one day I realized that I could take trash and turn it into treasure by repurposing it. And I almost prefer doing this because I can custom pick what I'm going to be using in my room. You know, I have all my tables color coded. However, maybe in a regular classroom, maybe you have a pink table or maybe you have a light blue table and you can't find the exact container. So you can easily take something that you were going to throw away and create a label and customize it, and it's unique to your classroom and it will fit perfectly just the way that you want to.
You've talked a lot about ways to use color and simple tools and materials to organize your classroom. And I'm excited to see just a rich collection of ideas that we can implement in classrooms just by gathering recycled materials from salad jars to baby food jars, any kind of container, and especially this really important tip that will matter a lot for classroom teachers who don't have a sink in their room. You've got a great way of bringing the sink to the table. So really, really excited to see you demo this.
You might recognize this. I believe it's called a clam shell, but it usually has salad inside of it. I go through probably 2 of these a week because Mr. Kiczek eats a lot of salad. Inside, I bring the sink to the kids. And I usually have these deli jars or wonton soup containers, and I put a line on it so the students know exactly where to fill their water inside. And the reason why I like to put it inside is because when they go back and forth, like they're not going to spill the water. Like, look, the lid just came off, but the water is going to stay inside the container. If you don't have these clamshell containers, I know everyone probably has something that looks like this. This is from copy paper. Do not throw this copy paper lid away. It can be used for so many things. You can do marble painting in it, and you can put marbles inside and paint. You can put glitter inside of it. You can do paintings inside of it, or you can also put your paint trays inside of it, just like inside the clamshell. So we'll do the same exact thing, just without a lid on top. And they're also stackable, so save these containers. You might not have a lot of time in your classes, and you might not have paint because maybe it's too expensive, or maybe you don't want to get on the carpet, or you just really want a really quick and fun and easy lesson. Well, I'm sure everyone has these in their classroom. Markers are something that is almost like a staple in elementary school. We go through them all the time, and I'm going to show you 3 simple and easy tricks on how to turn these washable markers into paint. So I'm going to be taking these markers out because I'm going to be using them for a demonstration for you. And the first one that I'm going to show you, this one requires you to leave them in overnight. And you know, when we're in art class and we have the markers, we always make sure that the cap goes, I don't know if you heard that, snap. So snap the cap. But over time, wear and tear just happens on the markers and they eventually dry out. And when they do, here's another deli container. I like to fill my water in here, and I put about 1.5 inches and I fill it right into this red line, this Crayola signature line that everyone it's like iconic, you can see right here. And I put my water in here, and I like to rubber band all my markers together. So then when I do take them out, it's very simple and easy. You can just take it out and put it off to the side. And then now you have instant paint, just like this. So that's a tip. That's a tip that you can use to make your own watercolor paint. And I also have something that I store my containers in. So these were those baby food jars. I couldn't believe how fast I got these. I asked my students to get baby food jars, and I probably had close to 100 by the end of the week. And I just painted the tops of these with acrylic paint. So because it's really kind of difficult to see what colors the paint is once the container is off. So I also have a second tip. I usually use these cupcake liners my friend Katie told me about. So then I know that this color is green because they all look too dark. So we're going to start off with the color red. So I know that this is going to go on my blue. This is going to go on my green. I have my watercolor paint that I made, and you can simply just take your paint and you can paint. It's really easy, super simple to do. This requires you to do it overnight. It only needs about 1 night to sit. However, if you don't have overnight and you want to start a painting project, I'm going to show you a tip on how to use a lid to make your own paint palette. So I save these lids for almost everything. I have them in all different sizes and all different colors. I prefer the white one because we're going to be drawing on this and we're going to be pulling the paint and putting it on over here. All right, so I'm going to take my first primary color, which is red, and I'm going to be coloring my paint palette or my tray that I'm going to be using red on one side. And when you make a secondary color, which we're going to be making orange today, make sure that cap goes snap, just like this. And I'm going to take my yellow and I want a 50-50 equal portion. So just like this, I'm going to go back and forth and I'm going to color it nice and evenly. Like I said, if you don't have a plastic lid, you can use a laminated sheet of paper. You can use a plastic bag, really anything that the color is not going to be absorbed with. So something that's not paper. So now the magic's going to happen, and I'm going to take my container, and now that I have it here, I'm going to take my lid off, and I'm going to hold my brush all the way down here, right where the ferrule meets the handle, and I'm first going to wash my brush off because I don't know if it's clean, I don't know if it's dirty, and these two colors, when you mix it together, this is where the magic happens. You instantly make orange. So it's super easy to do this in your classroom. And I'm going to get a little bit of water because now what we're going to do is we're literally going to scoop this paint off of this lid and we're going to put it right on our paper. It's really easy to do this. Cleanup is the snap. You don't have to be, super stressed out that you have everyone going to the sink. You can make art really easily in your home. And who would have ever thought that you can mix on a piece of plastic and instantly paint? The first way is to make your own watercolor and have it sit overnight. And you can put it in these jars and it will last. The second is to mix on a piece of plastic. And the third one, I recommend a really heavyweight paper if you're going to do this. But sometimes we draw directly on the paper. Now, This requires a heavy rate paper because we're going to use a lot of water on it. And I make a line, I call it a thick line. And we just go back and forth. We're just going to go over again. And then once when you're done with that, we're going to be taking our brush, washing it off. And this, you're going to want to pull that ink up. You need a lot of water for this trick to do it. So the more water, the better. It's okay because it will dry. So we're going to make 2 more colors. I'm going to get a new lid. We're going to make another secondary color. And whenever we are mixing colors, we always mix dark into light. And I always tell my students, you mix dark into light and you know you got it right. Then I'm going to take my brush. And now the magic's going to happen. All right, 1, 2, 3. And I'm instantly going to get green. So I'm going to just do my green. And what's easy about this is you can determine on how much marker you're going to use. If you're going to use more yellow, you're going to get a yellow-green color, which is called a tertiary color. Tertiary colors sit in between primary and secondary. So in between red and orange is red-orange. In between orange and yellow is yellow-orange. In between yellow and green is yellow-green. You always use the primary color first, and then the secondary color. And I'll do this directly on the paper. It's a little bit darker. This blue might show up a little bit better. You really want a really thick and bold line. So once when I make my thick and bold line, I'm gonna take my brush one more time. I'm gonna wash it off. If I have too much water, I'm gonna wipe it out. And then I'm gonna pull that directly onto the paper. And the last color, I guess you probably know what we're making right now because we are in my classroom and it's super color coded. So I was like, we have to make a rainbow. And who doesn't love a rainbow? They're a sign of good hope. And after a storm, always is a rainbow. So it's the last color of mine. And like I said, we do our magic trick. I'm gonna maybe just add a little bit more red on the side because maybe I want it to be a little bit more bright, not just dark. Pull it on top. Just like that. Now, there are some really fun ways to make other colors. And complementary colors are colors that sit opposite on the color wheel. And I have my paint set up like this because it will show you how to make brown. So brown is a super magic color. You can make brown by mixing red and green together. You can make brown by mixing orange and blue together. But you can also make brown by mixing yellow and violet together. So brown is a super special color and it can be made 3 possible ways. So you can make brown on your paint palette too, but we can't have a rainbow. Oh, see, I should have waited for this to dry, but that's okay. We're gonna embrace that mistake because no 2 rainbows are the same. Well, the last color that I'm gonna show you with this paint trick is going to how to be making black. So these 3 colors are the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. If you mix these 3 colors together, there's only one way to make black. So I'm gonna wash my brush off, and I love making this color because you would never think that these 3 colors would make black together, but if you just mix it, like, oh, it's green. No, now I see a dark blue. It will eventually make black. Like I said, you have to mix an equal amount. The reason why I made this black is because we are going to add some clouds down here. You can't really mess them up. One over here and one over here. I'll show you some other things that you can use in your classroom because organizing doesn't have to be a huge project. You can start off with some really simple and easy labels. For example, I love colored construction paper. This is really easy. You would just have to measure your container. I love anything with a lid. You can easily just wrap it around. I prefer clear containers. This is a peanut butter jar because you can see what's going on the inside. And you can use these amazing construction paper crayons. You can use regular crayons, and you can just draw directly on the paper and label. You don't need it to be fancy or anything. Just use color-coded paper. It can be any size, it can be any shape, it doesn't matter. And one year I had a teacher that was obsessed with my color coding system. She's like, oh, your classroom runs so smoothly. I love your class, but my classroom is organized and the theme is under the sea. And I can't do your color coded classrooms in my class because my theme is underwater. And then I thought to myself, I know what you can do. So when her students came to art, not only did we read a book about a fish incorporating science, we learned about secondary colors, and I had her students make their own color-coded fish. This is from Sprinkle Jar. It fit the markers perfectly. I love binder clips, and I could never find colored binder clips, so you could easily use paint on binder clips. But my favorite thing, and I showed you these earlier, are these Crayola Take Note permanent markers, because not only do they not have a harsh odor to them, they're super fine point. They're great on plastic. You can write on plastic just like this. I wrote violet. This has been on here for maybe a year. It's also good on wood. You can draw on metal. You can even use these markers on fabric. Being organized doesn't have to be time consuming. It doesn't have to be a huge daunting task. Get your students involved.
We want to thank Andrew Kiczek for inspiring us today, and a special thanks to everyone who joined us for this session. Stay well and celebrate joyful learning in your colorful classroom.
Bye, everyone. I hope you have fun creating.
Bye-bye.